Good morning, everyone. This is Dan, and this is the Napkin Academy. Today's lesson, we're going to be pushing a little bit further into the book Show and Tell, into the storyline section, and we're going to be introducing storyline number 1, which we will see is called The Report. The simple lesson today is this. When we want to change our audience's information, when we're giving a presentation, we use the report storyline. My premise in the book Show and Tell, how to make an extraordinary presentation. There are 3 rules. Number 1, tell the truth. Number 2, tell the truth with a story. And number 3, tell that story with pictures. Follow those, we will have an extraordinary presentation. Rule number 1 was tell the truth. We've talked about this one before, but I think it's worth reviewing as we set ourselves up for our storylines. We know that there is more than one kind of truth. So when I say tell the truth, what do I really mean? And I think we can break it down into 3 kinds of truths. There's sort of the truth of the data. What the facts tell me is true. We'll call this factual truth. There's another type of truth, which is really what our head says. This is sort of intellectual truth. This is what we think about things. And then there's a third level of truth, lodged right in the middle of our chest, which is called our heart, which is our emotional truth, the truth about the things that we actually believe. And of course, it is true that many times the things that we believe do not align with the things that we think, and very often don't align with the data. Not all of these truths are equal. Interestingly, the things that we believe outrank the things that we know, both of which completely outrank the facts. Is this how it should be? That's not a question for us to even ponder. This is how it is. We believe the things that we believe more than the things that we think, and they all are more than what the actual data around us tell us. What this tells us when it comes to making a presentation that is truly extraordinary is this. A good presentation shares some new data. It affects the bottom of this pyramid. It changes the facts that we know. A great presentation changes what we know in our head. And an extraordinary presentation is the one that hits us at that deepest level, at our heart. It actually changes what we believe. As we go through our storylines, they're going to work our way up this pyramid. We're going to start at the bottom. And that's where we are today. The presentations that talk about the truths that are delivered through data. That's the truth we're going to focus on. So rule number 2, tell a story. Well, why would we want to do that? It is true that if we lead with a story, people's understanding will follow us. That's how we make something complex understandable, is we tell it in the form of a story. All successful presentations are built on clear storylines. They always start here, and in a very clear way, they take us through the end of the story. These storylines are not endless. They are not confusing, and they are not random. These storylines are going to form the backbone of any presentation that we want to give. And why is that? Well, because let's face it, any idea, any truth that we want to convey on the surface of it is going to be complicated. It's like a wild animal. There's a lot of things going on. What storylines do is they take that complexity and they force it into a single line that allows us to defend against the complexity and the confusion that exists within the original idea. The way I often think about it is storylines force complexity into submission long enough for us to understand them. I really do believe that just about any presentation we could ever think about making can be created with one of just 4 storylines. You know, if we think about some of the more boring presentations that we need to make, things like a team status meeting or a financial update or a quarterly report or a project review, I call them boring, but we'll find out those are the report and we can make them interesting. For today, we're going to focus on these fact-based, data-driven kinds of presentations. Very quick review, the 4 storylines that we're going to run into. The first one is going to be the report. This is the one we're going to focus on today. It really looks like this. We start with some information. We try to enliven it, but for the most part, we deliver a straight line that's hopefully alive with a fair amount of fact and data in it. The explanation we'll be working on next time is more like a staircase. We start at a certain point and we take our audience through an increasing set of ideas in order to change what they know. The pitch is the storyline that forces us to start with a common problem and then find a way to jump over it so we can try to convince someone to change their actions. And then the drama, which will be the last. We start here, everything's fine, and then really, really bad things happen. We think we're going to die, but then we find a way out of it and we come out ahead. So those are the 4 storylines today. Of course, we're really going to focus on this report. You might remember that one of the rules we established right away in making an extraordinary presentation is that we want to change our audience. But you know, there are only 4 ways we really can change our audience. The first one is we can change their information. That's what we're going to do today. We can change knowledge or ability, we can change action, and we can change belief, but we're going to save those for future storylines. As we create a storyline, you might remember there was this thing I called the PUMA, which stands for our presentations underlying message architecture. The PUMA. The PUMA is this kind of animal that allows us to build out our storyline in a compelling way. We start with the head, which is our main idea. Here's what we're going to talk about. And then we build a kind of a spine, which is our main storyline. That's what we're really going to focus on today. Here's the way my story goes. And then the legs are all of the supporting ideas, data, facts, anecdotes that line up with that main line. And then we end with a little swish of the tail, one last quick little idea to kind of bring the whole thing together. The way we use our PUMA, of course, is it gives us a great way to build out our story. We start with the head, we make a kind of a summary of what our main idea is going to be. Then we block out the storyline with the spine. We fill out what's the storyline going to look like. Then we go in and we add in the legs. What are all the supporting data points and anecdotes that we have? And then, of course, we conclude it with some memorable little swish. We're going to find that there are 4 of these PUMAs that align exactly to our 4 storylines. A resting PUMA, a storyline that lays more or less flat, is going to be our report. A storyline that begins to climb up is going to be our explanation. The storyline, the PUMA, that's pouncing is going to become our pitch. And the leaping PUMA, the one that's really flinging itself out there into space, taking full risk, is going to be our drama. And again, today's focus will be on the resting PUMA. Storyline number 1, the report. Our PUMA rests. A report is the kind of presentation we give that brings data to life. So it's kind of like a little electronic EEG. So here's the heartbeat of our data moving along. And again, with the report, we're changing our audience's information. Now, as all of us know, most of our presentations are probably reports, and most of those are kind of so-so. Reports are the most frequent presentations we make because the statement of facts typically is the number 1 reason that we've been asked to come in and give a presentation. But reports are also the presentations most likely to fail for the simple reason that they don't really move in an upward fashion. So what we want to do when we create a report that's a good one is we want to bring that data to life. We want to make sure that we're not just giving a straight line, but along the way we activate that data, we bring it to life. Here's what I mean. If we were just going to go through a set of facts, it's okay, facts are facts, but I'll tell you this, for a presentation, sadly, facts are not enough. Imagine that we're watching a football game. If we looked at a game from a strictly factual point of view, we would say, we could make a kind of a spreadsheet and say, you know, these people, right here, 2 teams, move this ball, there it is, the little ball, this far, some distance up and down the field, for this long, for some number of minutes, and then we count how many times they do it. X equals what? What's the score? And then we say, yay, that was kind of boring. If we looked at a game that way, it wouldn't be very memorable, and we'd probably never watch football again. And sadly, this is the way that we give most of our reports. In contrast to that, let's imagine the way a football game is delivered on television. And all of a sudden, the same pieces of information are delivered in a much more compelling way. And we might have a couple of commentators that say, why are we here? Well, we're here to see who's going to take the lead in the series. Okay, and who and what? Well, we have this many people, and they're going to move this thing, and this is awesome. And then we say, where is it going to take place? and we say, okay, here in the stadium, here in San Francisco, here's what's happening. And then the game starts when the players start to move, and this player's hitting that player, and there's the kickoff, and it's moving. And then later on, as the game goes, we continue, and we can sort of unfurl the strategies that the teams are playing. Look at how they're moving around. Look at how they're moving the ball. You really have to admire the way the game is going. And then finally, we end with the final how much, the big score. And we can't believe it because our team won by a score of just 1 point. And then we start the whole thing over. So the reason I emphasize this is, if I go back for a moment, this spreadsheet of facts is identical in factual makeup to what our commentators took us through in our television show. But you know what? They're completely different in terms of how we, as the audience, participate. A report, a good report, presents that data for the fastest insight and the greatest retention. And that's where our commentary comes in. We take all of these facts and details, and we're going to walk them through a specific process that allows them to become retained and full of insight. And everybody on the phone right now already knows exactly what that process is. I'm giving it a slightly new name in the book Show and Tell. I'm going to call this 6-mode thinking. But all of us already know exactly what we're talking about. I'll tell you why. Because it's exactly the same that all of us associates have already been through with blah, blah, blah. It is this. Understand that the human brain looks at complex information by breaking it down into one of 6 different types. There's the who and what information, the quantitative how much information, the geographic where information, the time-based when information, the cause and effect-based how information, and then the ultimate moral of the story, the why information. 6-mode thinking simply breaks this down, old school stuff, this is nothing new, into the who and the what and the how much, the where, the when, the how, and the why. So what we all know is our 6x6 matrix was built entirely from this model, and what we're going to say is that in order to put together a factual presentation into a compelling way, all we have to do is start with the who and what and work our way around all 6 to the why, and it's going to be brilliant. It'll be something that people will be able to follow. Subtle nuance for all of us, we don't have to start with the who and what. Often it's more compelling in a report to actually start with why. Let me show you exactly what I mean. 3 very fast examples of 6-mode reports delivered. So let's say report type 1, number 1. The basic status update when we're in a team meeting. What we might want to say is the why. Why are we here? Well, let's get a better sense of where we are team. Okay, the who and the what. Well, it's our company, our team, our product, our competitor. The where and the when. This particular customer segment, perhaps that segment, maybe this quarter, maybe that quarter. And how much and how? Well, how much money do we need? How are we going to rethink our strategy, etc. Now, let's make another example of the sportscast really quickly. The why is, let's follow these teams as they make their way to the championship. The who and the what, of course, are the teams and the players in the game. The where and the when are, this particular stadium, these plays, these downs, these moves. The how and the how much. How many yards are they moving? How many points are they getting? How many touchdowns are they getting? Great. And then the last one is one of my favorites, something I encourage all of us to take a look at. A gentleman named Hans Rosling. Go to TED.com, TED.com, look for Hans Rosling, and you will see the greatest data report ever, back from the year 2006. What Hans Rosling did is he took a bunch of boring data about global demographics, economic indicators, and said the why story is many smart people don't seem to understand poverty. So the who and the what's that he talks about are nations and mothers and fathers and children and wealth and death, all kinds of data. The when and the where, the entire world, the entire 20th century. The how and the how much equals this. It turns out that the more educated someone is, the more wealth they have. The more wealth they have, the longer they live. Long life is directly related back to education. Wow, so those are 3 very quick examples. So here's the way I'd like to map out how we create a good presentation report, and then I'm going to give you an example of exactly where I've done this in a real world situation, and we'll walk through it literally slide by slide. Every report shares this kind of 6-mode, 6-loop storyline from the beginning to the end. Often we might start with the why. Why are we here? We want to agree on this. Then I always say next is we start with the who and what. Who and what are we, and who are our players, and what are the things that are in play? Then we talk about where are they? Where are they all located, both geographically and conceptually? And then we say, and when do they happen? And this is when we introduce our timeline. And then we say, and how is it working out? How is it all occurring? And then we talk at the end, this model at the end, about how much. We start to give some numbers to indicate what all of these other data points can deliver to us. And then at the end, we make a quick loop back just to make sure that we've gone back to the beginning to answer this question of why. Okay, well, that might be a nice, linear model of how it works, but I want to give you an exact example now. Here's the scenario that we have in mind. We work for a mid-sized software company. We are the team lead on a new product, and we need to deliver a status report to our company decision makers. Real-world consulting project for me. The idea that we want to share is this. We're a social media technology company, and as we recognize that as social media is transforming the digital landscape, a lot of businesses are looking for ways to combine e-commerce and social networks. Our audience is our executives in the company. We think we've got a way, our team, of combining e-commerce with social networking to deliver something really impressive. We're working on a project, and we need to update management and make sure that they understand what we're up to and continue to support us. All right, so that's the setup. So let's do it. Here's the actual presentation. The way I'm going to map this presentation out, we're actually going to follow the show and tell model. In the show box right here, I'm going to show you the actual slide. I created these in PowerPoint, but you could equally well create them in Keynote or Prezi or any other presentation software. This is the slide, what we show on the screen, and down below will be the caption, the parallel text, what we actually say, and then at the very bottom I'll map it back to that storyline we saw at the very beginning. So in this case we're going to start with the why. Hey everybody, welcome. Thanks for coming. This is Project Sylvester, and I am from the Secret Projects group, and we're going to give you a development update. Next slide. So let's start with that why. Why are we here? Well, Project Sylvester is well underway. In 4 short months, we've gone from something that was just a kind of a sketchy idea through to an initial prototype. Up till today, we're very well into development. We're doing well in 4 months, but there are some challenges ahead. So again, on a side note, we're still at the why. Why are we here? Let's continue now as we move into the who and the what. So let's do a quick review. What is Project Sylvester? Well, as we all know, we call this Sylvester because it's the Tweety killer. Anybody's familiar with Sylvester and Tweety, the famous old comic strip? So tweets, here's what we're talking about. We're going to enable people using Twitter and other social media tools to be able to make e-commerce purchases directly within the Twitter. So that's what Sylvester's all about. That's why we call it the Tweety killer, because boy are we going to blow Twitter wide open by enabling it to function as an e-commerce platform. Who's on the team? Okay, you see where we are? We're still on the who and what right now. Okay, here's the team. I'm Mitch. I'm the project lead. We've broken the team into 2 groups. We've got our development group and our business group. Under development, we've got engineering led by VJ. Then we've got Stacy and Tran working for VJ. In the design group, we've got Rhonda. Oh, and we have an immediate need right here because we've only got 1 designer. We could use 2. Testing, we've got Guy. Under the business side, for setting up partnerships, we've got Kim, but Kim's only working half-time. Strategy and marketing, we're filled. Okay, we've got Sophie and we've got Hamill doing an excellent job. And then, of course, on the legal side in business development, we've got Bayu, who's handling legal and finance. So that's who's the team. Okay, now we're going to do a shift. Where are we in the project? So now we're at where, and which picture I'm going to draw. I'm going to draw a map now. Okay, so where are we? The landscape right now of e-commerce and social media says that, there are some organizations that have a lot of social media capability, and there are some organizations that have a lot of e-commerce capability. But nobody has a lot of e-commerce capability and social media capability. So if we think about Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest, Twitter, what Sylvester's going to do is enable all of them to move up into this magic quadrant where none of them exist right now. So where are we technologically in the process? Well, We're still in the where now. Okay, so where are we? Well, some of the things that we needed to develop, we've done really well. We've got a lot of strength around our compatibility, the reliability, the usability of our tool. On the desktop basis, we're really good. But areas where we're weak in development right now are on mobile. We're having some struggles around security issues on mobile, and latency. It's just a little bit too slow. So although we've got some of our development down really well, there are some areas we need to focus on. When are things happening? Let's take a review of the schedule. Okay, folks, you'll see where I am. I'm now in the when part of the storyline. And now, for all of you who've been associates for a while, the picture we're going to show now, we're talking about when, so we're going to show a timeline. Here's our timeline. So we are on schedule, barely. We started in January, and as we know, we've got a beta launch in August with the idea of actually launching Sylvester in September. So we're about halfway through that process right now. Engineering's right on schedule. Design, though, look at this, we're falling back. We're probably a month behind on design. Testing's where we need to be. Partners, okay, partnering is really critical, and we are falling behind. Strategy and marketing, we're doing all right. Legal and financial, bio's doing an excellent job. We're actually ahead of schedule. What does this tell us? That our main areas of scheduling concern are around design and around partnering, with some of these issues about engineering as well. So how are we going to finish this thing on time? And you'll notice we've now moved into the how. And again, associates, you'll notice that what we're going to introduce now is a flowchart. For anybody who's ever asked, how do I use the 6x6 model to turn it into a presentation? Here's how. We started with who and what. We went through the how much. We went through the where. Now we're in the when. All right, so now we're in the how, rather. So here we go. One option to solve our technical and schedule challenges is, we could partner with this little company out there called Kongu Mobile. You may have heard of them. Kongu is a creator of small online apps. Kongu actually has the design and engineering resources that we could need, and we've heard through the grapevine that they are looking for an investor. What would happen if we worked with Kongu, perhaps invested in them? We could bypass a whole series of steps that are slowing us down. What we need to do to finish is hire new people, train them, get them into design and development, and then testing so they can launch. But you know what? If Kongu already has those people, partnering with them could get us right around that more quickly. Look, how much is all of this worth? And now you'll notice I've moved into the how much question, which in this report we're going to leave to the end because this is the one about the money. So this is kind of the swish of our puma's tail. Let's bring it back. These are business people we're talking to, so let's bring it back to the money question at the end. Okay, look guys, the market opportunity here is huge. Right today, social media enabled e-commerce is pretty tiny. But you know what? In 2 years, it's going to be estimated at about $10 billion. 4 years from now, it's estimated at least $100 billion global revenue. We want to be the first to launch. We need to get into this business now. And how much of this is this worth again to us? The how much question? Well, let's look at it this way. We're not talking about a few sales that we're going to enable. We're talking, if we get this right, about billions. So, now comes the end of our presentation, the loop back to the original why. Why are we here? What do we need to do? The big question is this, and managers, this is what we come to you as our end question for our status report. Should we or should we not partner with Kongu? The risks are there, but the opportunity is there as well. Thanks for listening to our status report. Please let us know what you think. That was our report. I got to tell you, my impression is that was a lot more interesting report than the typical status meeting. And here we map the entire report back to that storyline. We started with the why. Why are we here? What's our project about? The who and the what. Here's our team. The where. Where are we both in the market space and where are we in terms of development? The when. When are we making our deadlines or not? How are we going to move ahead with our flowchart? And we ended in this case with the money question of how much. And then we had our final loop back to answer why. That's what I mean by what I consider to be a good, lively report. And you'll notice that our storyline looks a little bit like our resting puma. Quick report. I want to let you know what happened when we delivered that presentation, because as I said, that what I just shared with you was a real presentation for a real company. I've changed the company name and changed a couple of details because I can't give too much away, but did we tell a story? Well, I think we did. It wasn't a complicated story. It was a story that just took us through the 6 W's of 6-mode thinking. Did we change our audience's information? Well, we absolutely did. We gave them a lot of information. They knew about the schedule, but we showed them exactly where we are. We gave them some new information about this whole Kongu opportunity. And are the facts and data that we presented understandable and memorable? And I think in both cases the answer was yes. So what was the result of having given this report? Well, this is again a fictionalized version of a real report, but here's what happened with the report that I just showed you. The company went into the next round of financing. They did agree to go ahead and make a merger with Kongu. That merger has taken place and the company is moving on to further development. I would fully expect that in the next couple of years, for anybody who's a fan of Facebook or Twitter, you are absolutely going to see an opportunity directly through your Facebook feed or your Twitter feed to purchase things directly with no need to actually go into an additional e-commerce site. And I can say that not breaking any non-disclosure agreements with anybody, because there are many companies that are working on this, because the truth is it is the future of social media and e-commerce. It was fun for me to be able to work with a company. Here's the last thing I want to leave with you. As you go back, I'd encourage you, maybe watch the video again. Look at every one of these slides. There is not a single slide in our presentation which is a bullet list of text. Every single slide contained one and only one picture, and every one of those pictures was one of the pictures that we would draw when we did our 6x6. I hope that you can see sort of the magic to me that comes from this essential tool. We map out the 6-mode, we map out the corresponding pictures, and we've got a really great presentation, a really great report. Quick, final 4 thoughts about reports. All of us are going to need to make them because, again, they're the most frequent type of presentation we're asked to give. Four things to think about. The first one is the only time someone says, "Wow, what a great report," is when the data that we have given them makes that person change. If we just deliver a whole series of facts, nobody ever says, "Oh, that's amazing." They say that's amazing when the facts are clear enough that the person is changed. Number 2, for the same reason, it's very rare that any of us gets promoted for just reciting the facts. In fact, you want to be really careful, because if there's a bad message to deliver, who's the one who usually gets their head taken off? Is the messenger. So what we want to do is, even if there's bad news to deliver, we want to deliver it in a way that goes through all 6 of the modes so that the person we're giving it to is able to look beyond us and see the actual facts, see the truth for themselves. Number 3, part of the way to do that is, let's go ahead and make it a sportscast. So instead of just having our facts lie like this, let's do what those football announcers did. Let's have our facts go like this. But again, remember, we are the announcer. We're the man or the woman with the headset on. We are not the dancing cheerleader who's saying, "Rah, rah, we gotta go, we gotta go." We are unbiased. We are delivering all of the facts, but we're simply doing it in a way that is engaging. It is not our responsibility to be the cheerleader. And in fact, if people think that we're being the cheerleader, they're going to think that we're so biased that they'll stop listening to our facts. And the last idea, whenever we can, let's try not to use the report at all. Let's go with one of the other storylines, because in most cases, they are going to deliver a far more extraordinary presentation. So, final takeaway, even if our boss asks us for a boring report, that doesn't mean we have to give it to her. What we might want to do is see if the information can be more effectively presented through one of the other storylines that we'll share with you in the remaining sessions. Homework, here's what I'd like you to do. Map your own report Puma. Here's what I mean. I want you to go back, think through your own business career, your own activities. Come up with a report that you had to deliver sometime. What I mean by that is a presentation where your primary objective was to deliver data and facts. See if you've ever done one. I know you have. Dig it up. What I'd like you to do is go back and reverse engineer it. What I mean is, go create a sort of a storyline puma for how that presentation was built. Start with the kind of the summary. Draw out a bit of a spine. What was the main idea storyline you were trying to deliver? And then just sort of map in some of the detailed facts that you had. And what was the final closing idea that you had? So what we're looking for is actually a sketch that says, here's the summary of my idea, here's the storyline, here were some of the supporting reports, and here's how I concluded it. And just make that on a piece of paper or electronically, and as usual, go ahead and upload it onto the Napkin Academy. Hey, thank you all for another great lesson. This is Dan signing off from the Napkin Academy, but don't go away. Now on our new platform, you can still submit your homework. Debbie, our community manager, is going to join you right now to show you exactly how to do that, and I really encourage you, do your homework. Okay, take it away, Debbie. See you soon.
We hope you enjoyed this Napkin Academy classic video. We've made it easier than ever to share your homework. After you've completed your homework and have a JPEG or PNG file saved on your computer, come back to this course. Once you're back here, scroll to the bottom of the screen, and in the comments box, you can add a comment. I'm just going to call this one my homework. You can also add images by clicking on the Insert Edit Image button here. In the source box, click on the file. In the Images window, click on Upload, and then click on Add Files. This is going to take you to your computer where you can search for your images. I'm just going to search for mine in Pictures, and I'm going to choose this image here. You can also add multiple images here. Click Upload. After the upload is complete, click Close. Then scroll down, and you'll see that the last image is here, and it's checked. This is the one we just uploaded. Click Insert. I suggest in the Dimensions box you change the maximum to 1200 pixels and leave the Constrained Proportions box checked. You can also add an image description here if you'd like. Click OK. You'll see that your image has been added to your comment. And now the last step, the most important one, make sure that you click the green comment button here to upload your homework to the Napkin Academy. We hope to see your homework soon.